Oriolus Szalayi. Let's talk about it. This is a planar IM that is on loan from a friend of the channel. He's the guy that sent me a few other things more recently, like the Metallurge Glacier and the Ice Labs Prismatica. So I appreciate him for sending these out. So this is a loan. I do not get to keep it. This is a $900 IM that's gotten quite a bit of buzz. A lot of people are pretty interested in this one. Maybe it's you, maybe it's not, but let's look into the build quality of this IM. But I have to warn you from the start, there's not a whole lot here since this is a loaner. The shell I would describe as large bean, but it's nice, it's well done, it fits in my ear well, and it isolates really quite well. It doesn't have an anti-tragus catch, which is maybe a bad thing for some, but it has a kind of a nice, pretty blue color. And I dig that about this IEM. All around, good IEM shell, and I find it comfortable, but it's not super exciting. This is the case that I got it in. Nothing too exciting. This is a nice cable. It's recessed 2-pin cable connector. There's a little red and blue at the top of this cable for right and left. It's a nice cable. It's a little bit memory prone. It doesn't have a chin slider, and it's terminated in a 4.4. I didn't find it microphonic, and I was able to use this cable, which is nice for a fabric cable for me. So how does the Oriolus Szalayi sound? Some might call it muddy or boomy, or there's like a certain maskiness to this frequency. It's not the most balanced sound. It's very warm, very thick, very rich, but it's a well done IEM. This is what I would call an L-shaped IEM, meaning that it has a ton of bass and it does have a bit of treble, but it may or may not be for you. It's kind of what I would call a bass head style IEM. To me, I feel that the bass is fun, impactful, but it doesn't feel like it has that twinklies and that sparklies that you might want from another IEM. The bass feels rich, impactful, full, and the mids can feel a little bit far away, but they're by no means bad or poorly done, but it does have that sense of muddiness. Some things do feel a little bit husky and not rich, but it's a well done set for what it is, and I enjoy it quite a bit. Let's look at some graphs. All right, let's look at the graph. You'll notice a few things that it has kind of a dip here, a lot of bass, and that means a lot. So it does have some interesting qualities and characteristics about it. It's a nice overall bass head IEM, but it has some weirdities to the sound. Like, again, vocals can feel recessed. They can also feel a little bit chunky at the same time. And so it's a very colorized, almost old school type of a feel to a set. But again, it's a fun set. It's what I would call an audiophile tune set, meaning that it's not, in my opinion, the best bang for the buck. But we're not talking about bang for the buck. We're talking about a fun set. So we're going to compare this to a few other sets. Now, Oriolus has done a few other sets. I got to review the Isabella. I thought the Isabella kind of lacked enough dynamics. I don't really like a lot of warm mid-bassy sets. I'm more of a sub-bass kind of guy personally. And it had a little bit of just kind of hiss, and it kind of fatigued me after a while because of it had a peculiar sound. Szalayi I thought was fantastic, and it would get my vote over the Isabella. But again, it's a different kind of a set. I also got to demo the Manchacha at home. I did not like it. I don't know if it was the extra peaks here or just the interesting approach to bass, but it just felt like it didn't have that fun factor for me. And the Szalayi to me is my favorite of the three I've listened to. Now, this reminds me a lot of the Giant, but I think in some ways this is better done than the Giant. And the reason for that is that the Giant kind of lacks that upper treble extension. There's something about it, like it has nice warmth, but it doesn't have enough detail. It doesn't have enough air, and it kind of leaves you a little bit hanging and kind of wishing that it had a little bit more. So it becomes a very peculiar sound. One might like one or the other, but to me, these are both examples of pretty good. I think I would go with the Szalayi over the Giant, but it's close. And I could see one person preferring one or the other, but they're both extremely colorized and they're both extremely unique, to say the least. One I am, it reminds me a little bit of is the Noah. Now, the Noah is a good set. It has some certain quirks and funness about it that I really like. It has, to my opinion, it's a very bassy set with a little bit better, more forward mid bass and not or less forward mid bass and more forward like of the mids, and it's just kind of has a good way of becoming vocal forward and has a fun presentation. The problem is $900 can buy you a lot in today's current market, and like something like the Noah to me would get the vote over it. And I personally consider the Noah a little bit of a audiophile tune set, but it's a little bit more in my wheelhouse than something like the Szalayi as far as something that I would personally want to listen to and own. Now, another set that I really love is a Soft Ears RSV, and this has a lot of bass. Like if we normalize this at, say, I don't know, 750 or so, you'll notice that like the Szalayi has this kind of a little bit of a forward 1K peak, which isn't bad, but it does bother some people. It has a little bit more 8K, and then you'll notice how much bass this has. I kind of feel that the RSV MK2 has a little bit more of like chunky warmth, but the Szalayi kind of goes full blast and has a ton more bass and sub bass and mid bass and everything. So it's an interesting approach to sound, and it's very L-shaped in that regard. Another IM that reminds me a little bit of is the Scarlett Mini, and what you'll notice about the Scarlett Mini is the Scarlett Mini has a little bit less of that 1K, a ton of this extra sparkle and detail, and a ton more sub bass. The Scarlett Mini is unique. But it sounds like almost like a non-natural tonality. It's going to be those ones that either you love or you hate. I don't know. I thought it was just kind of okay. Like I didn't really get it. I can see why people would love it and think it's really unique and fun, but I didn't really think it was good. And so other IEMs, this kind of reminds me of a little bit of the Van Gogh. The Van Gogh I thought was kind of an interesting IEM, but what you'll notice is that Van Gogh has even more bass and even more upper mids, which is kind of okay. But like the Van Gogh makes the Szalayi look like a mild V-shaped set. The Van Gogh is kind of crazy. Both of them sound kind of good and are kind of a fun colorization, and I would encourage you guys to try them sometime. But these are examples of sets that are hyper bassy. Another set that's planar, that's bassy, that's good. Something like the Fat Freak Quantum gets a lot of love. The Quantum has a little bit more air and details up top, a little bit more 8K, so it's going to feel incisive and like precise, and a little bit less of that bass. It still does things really well, and you might like it better. I think it's a little bit more neutral, or probably a little bit more in my wheelhouse, but there's something about the Quantum that I just... Anytime you have a planar that's super expensive, and you know the parts in it cost like, $10-15 plus labor to make, it's just, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit more with the shells depending on like the materials used there, but it's a little disappointing anytime you have it. So it's hard to say. And like, even if you want to look at something like my beloved Aether, like to me, like the Aether is a really nice set, and you can notice the Aether kind of has a similar sort of a tonality, being it be planar. And these are kind of similar, but the Szalayi has just a little bit more bass. Something like the Martillo is also something I would get my vote if you're really looking for a bassy set. And that's really cheap. It's like $250. And something like the Dunu X Ito Iku, which I don't really know what that collaboration is with, but it's some interesting set. And that one has a little bit more flat mids and a little bit more 3K, which is kind of nice. I think it's probably an all-around more pleasing, a little bit less crazy bass, and a little bit more tame, and a little bit more in my wheelhouse. Something to kind of consider, while as the Szalayi is almost insane bass. Okay, let's rank it up. I mean, how did it do overall? Again, a solid set overall. I think I gave it a 9 for bass. Bass is fun and impactful, but the mids are a little bit cooked. The air and detail is just kind of okay. And technicality-wise, it is nice at like an 8.5. It's bass plus bass and more bass. It's a fun set. IEMs are funny. They're an interesting hobby where like it's almost like a designer, like extra hobby of something fun and kind of crazy. Is this IEM fun and enjoyable? Yeah, absolutely. Is it the most neutral, best value or studio tune? No. But it's a lot of fun and it's an interesting set. I don't feel it's the best money for value, but I do feel that it is a fun, engaging set. Something that's unique, dynamic, something that doesn't disappoint. And in that regards, I think this is a superb IEM. But if you're looking for neutrality, I would recommend you look other places. Thanks for watching my video. Thanks to the guy that sent this out to me. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate anyone who sends me content. And if you ever want to send me stuff to review, I'm always happy to try to work something out. And usually it doesn't take me super long to get things done. But, you know, this is IEM season, so let's be honest. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye for now.
Go!
Go!
Go on with you!